the detectives will get pissed off, right? He's not a detective. You got to talk. Not that they'll get pissed off, but it's kind of like, you're kind of in their territory, right? And I'm a fucking patrol cop, right? Pissant patrol cop. So my CO Barry was like, look, go up to the squad, give it a shot, stay there 18 months. If you don't like it, come back to patrol.
This is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
You're one of their own coming back on, what I know about the immigrant population, when somebody gets into that position, some people will look a little differently at them, like a traitor almost.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
It was great. I mean, I spoke Spanish. I wasn't great. I'm still not fantastic at speaking Spanish. I hold my own. That was another thing my grandfather used to tell me. Don't speak to me in English. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have learned Spanish. He made me speak Spanish to him. He's like, you're Puerto Rican. He used to tell me, tú eres boricua, tú tienes que hablar español. You're Puerto Rican, you got to speak Spanish. So I had to speak Spanish to my grandfather. He would not speak to me in English. And when I got to the neighborhood, it was the height of the crack wars, right? 1992, 1990. I got there January of 93. And the crack wars were basically, they were kind of, at their summit and almost on the way down. And I remember sitting in a dentist's office and looking at the cover of Time magazine, and it said "Smack is back," right? And that was heroin.
Yeah.
So it was transitioning from crack into heroin, right? And we had spots on almost every corner in the foray. Literally, like there was drug spots, whether it be weed, coke, heroin, whatever, crack. There was a spot on every corner. So I hit the ground running. I went right to I did 9 months of field training, foot post. Got into a car once in a while, but then in September, I hit the midnights and I did late tours for 8.5 years. So, but it was good. It was good. The people accepted me pretty much right away.
When you're navigating through patrol, was there any career path that you wanted to take? Do you want to become a detective? Do you want to you want to move up and become brass?
So when I got on the job, all you needed was a high school diploma, right? So I had my high school diploma, and in order to be a boss, you had to have at least a 60 credit, right, an associate's degree. So I wasn't going back to school. I just didn't have the time, right? So I wanted to become a detective. I wanted to end up in emergency services in a SWAT team. I felt like, I was built for it. I felt like it would have been a good thing for me, but I had no mechanical skills, right? I didn't know I'm lucky I know how to change a light bulb, right? At that point, I knew how to change a tire on a car, but I couldn't, a lot of these guys that are in ESU and SWAT are SWAT, they have side skills, right? They're mechanically inclined. I wasn't really mechanically inclined, but I wanted to become a detective. And I ended up
a good breacher, if nothing else.
Yeah, right,
That's
exactly.
what I was thinking. I'm like,
or a bullet catcher, right?
Sponge.
Right. Yeah. So, but I ended up thankfully, I became a detective. But I love being a patrol cop. To me, patrol is the best kept secret on the job.
Now, when did you get into how long did you do in patrol?
So I did 12 years on patrol.
Okay.
I did 8.5 of those on midnights.
You were on patrol during 9/11.
Yeah. I did a stint of anti-crime. I worked anti-crime for about 1.5 years. That Amadou Diallo shooting happened.
Yeah.
The murder of Amadou Diallo, I should say.
That was in the Bronx.
Yeah. That was in a 4-3. So when that happened, I was in anti-crime. The guys that killed him were in citywide street crime, which was essentially the same thing, but just a citywide level. Anti-crime was borough-based, or precinct-based, rather. And once that happened, every time I went to go toss somebody or jump out of my car, they were throwing their wallets on the floor because Diallo pulled his wallet out and he was shot 41 times. So I was like,
57.
What? Yeah.
It's Bruce Springsteen's song. That's how I know that.
Yeah, the 41 shots. And so he had 57 wounds, I believe, because of the ricochets and everything, but he was shot 41 times.
So just back up, and I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this because I have a perception of the Amadou Diallo shooting. Mm-hmm. And I always thought it was just a horrible tragedy. Mm-hmm. He pulled his wallet out, he couldn't speak English, all that stuff. Right. You had just said that he was murdered.
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
Because he was, right? They were looking. So you had guys that were young on the job that shouldn't have been in the position they were in. They were too young to be in plainclothes, unsupervised, riding around doing their own thing. They was too young. 4 white guys driving around in an African and black and Hispanic neighborhood. And they were trying to look for a rape pattern. And they got this guy. They weren't trained enough. And they jumped out on him, and there was a language barrier, and he pulled his wallet out, and they killed him. They murdered him. I mean, that to me, there's a difference between, listen, you shoot somebody once or twice, that's an accident. You're shooting somebody 41 times. Look, I get it, right? Contagious fire, all that other stuff. We can go into
sympathetic fire.
Yeah, we could go into phenomenons until the cows come home. To me, I viewed it as a murder.
You viewed it as a murder because of inexperience.
Correct.
Not
The
because,
inexperience.
Not because of ill intent.
No.
Okay.
It was inexperience. I say murder, but if I want to get technical, manslaughter, right?
Yeah.
Because there was no intent to kill him, obviously, right? They thought they were defending themselves, and then the contagious fire took over, and then it ended up becoming what it became. Unfortunately, he lost his life. But it was the NYPD's fault for putting these guys in that position.
Oh, okay.
They shouldn't have been in that position.
But
right?
the brass don't take the fall for that.
No, they don't, right? Because the grunts always suffer, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's in the military or whatever. 2 got exonerated. 1 ended up becoming a sergeant, and another one got fired. Another one got fired. Did some time, I believe. It was. No, I'm wrong. They all got exonerated. I'm confusing it with Abner Louima. They all got exonerated.
Abner Louima was the other one.
They all got exonerated.
We just talked with Tom Lillo, who did time with Justin Volpe.
Yeah, that piece of shit. Yeah.
They said he even said,
Savage.
and this was a guy who was fired for excessive force. Just so you know. So no, the guy.
Oh no, I know
here.
what you're saying. Yeah.
And even he said, he goes, that Volpe guy, he's fucked
You're
up.
a fucking sociopath. You do that to somebody.
I mean, listen, you go in just to tip. I understand, just to tickle him, but you go in.
That's what she said.
You go in elbow deep. There's a problem.
Yeah, listen, and if you're in the room when it's happening and you don't do anything, you're a fucking coward. You're complicit.
You're just as guilty.
Absolutely, 100%.
I ran into that several times in my career where somebody, adrenaline's pumping.
plunger?
Well, I was going to say, you guys shoving plungers up people's ass?
No, we never use plungers.
Thank
we
God.
use PR-24s.
Oh, God, please.
Where guys would get a little jacked up on adrenaline. You got a hot call or something, and they throw a couple bonus shots in there. I was always very conscious of that because you hear me on the tape going, he's cuffed. It's
That's
over.
enough.
Stop. Because I never wanted to. Listen, I'm not going to go take hot dicks in the mouth for the next 5
Absolutely
years.
not.
For something stupid someone else did.
Right.
Yeah, 100%.
And it wasn't to jam anybody up. It was my job. My job is not personal. Like police work, unfortunately, too many people take it personally. It's not personal.
Yeah,
it's a job.
You can't. And part of that job is being a senior cop, right? Which is a big problem with the NYPD now, right? You got all these cops leaving through attrition. You got retirement. They're going to different departments, and there's nobody to teach. There's no OGs on the job to teach these young kids how to talk to people, how to react, right? A lot of it is jumping on a guy when you see him getting a little heavy-handed and fucking literally grabbing him and telling him, look, that's enough, man. The cuffs are on. All bets are off. Like,
You
stop.
save them from themselves.
Absolutely.
Those days are over.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, listen, besides the body cams and cameras everywhere, right, in this world, you can't take a piss somewhere in this country without it being caught on video. Besides that, because I'm a big proponent of body cams, I love them. I think they exonerate cops more than they hurt cops. But the thing is this, right? Before body cams were out, you had guys like us that would jump on a rookie or jump on a guy who, we all had those calls, right, where you went to a call and the shit was about to hit the fan, and you and your partner calm shit down, and then you get back in your car and you're like, imagine if so-and-so fucking was here.
Yeah.
It would have went crazy.
Well, we had supervisors like that, too. You'd go up to a scene and everything would be calm. Supervisor would come up and they'd just start needling.
Oh, my God.
Shit.
Horrible.
Yeah, and then the supervisor would leave.
You watch you watch a guy on the couch, because I've had this, where you start seeing this. You start seeing the guy sitting on the couch just doing this, and you're like, he's about to go. Let's de-escalate.
Right, yeah.
Because our job as in police work is to, it's not to fight. Sometimes you have to, sometimes it's unavoidable.
Absolutely.
But it's to de-escalate a situation, bring them in, and try to get it done with as little effort as possible.
Yeah. I had a guy, speaking of those clutching, I had a dude, he had just got out of jail. I mean, like 16 hours before his old lady called us that she was beating the shit out of him. We get this, she meets us downstairs. She's like, look, he's a pretty big dude. And I'm young. I'm like probably 28, 29 years old. And I'm like, yeah, I'm a big boy too. Let's go. Let's see what's up. And I walk into this apartment and this dude is sitting on the couch and one of his international male G-strings on, right? And he's sitting there and he's got his arms up on the couch and his muscles have muscles. And his cock is hanging out. The guy is a fucking monster.
How does cock look?
It was big.
Had muscle, too.
It was big. Yeah, it was impressive, I must say.
Hey, nice jump.
You give him a salute.
Way to break the ice.
So I walk in with my partner and I look at him and he's sitting on the couch and he's like, his chest is heaving and I'm like, this is it, right? We're gonna go. So he looks at me and he goes, I'm not fucking going back to jail. So I put my gloves on, right, the infamous black gloves, and I look at him and I tell him, look, we're going to go either easy way or the hard way because, you might get the best of me here, but there's going to be 15, 20 cops coming from 3 different precincts, and we're going to fuck you up. So get up, put your hands behind your back, and let's go through it. And, he was like, okay. And he got up, and he fucking let me cuff him, thankfully. Yeah. And that was it.
I used to say all the time, it's one of 2 ways. The easy way to the hard way.
That's it. Yeah.
The easy way's my way. The hard way is going to be your way.
That's right.
My son and I just had this discussion. We were talking about professional wrestling for whatever reason.
Right.
And we were talking about Andre the Giant.
Okay.
So think about Andre the Giant, somebody of that stature.
Oh,
the only way you're arresting him is if he allows you to arrest him.
100%.
No doubt.
Yeah.
And how do you do that? You do that through your verbal judo. You do that through talking and being kind and being kind but being firm.
Empathetic.
Yeah.
Everything.
So you go on in your career, and what kind of special details? Because I know you were on JTTF, which is really what I want to talk about.
Right.
I chose to name this episode "The Suffering of Terrorism" because there's some big stuff that happened when you were on JTTF.
Yeah. So make a long story bearable. I did my 12 years or so on patrol. My CO at the time, Barry Bazzetti, who I love, he took me off patrol, and he's like, look, every time there's a shooting, every time something happens, there's a homicide, whatever, they call up the squad and they're asking for KoJack, right? The kids in the neighborhood used to either call me KoJack or the Big Show, right? So they're calling up the squad.
You're like a mixture of both of them.
There you go.
I need a lollipop a lollipop and a singlet.
There you go. So they'd call the squad. And they'd ask the detectives, look, I want to talk to KoJack. I got some information on the shooting. And then the detectives would get pissed off, right? He's not a detective. You got to talk. Not that they'll get pissed off, but it's kind of like, you're kind of in their territory, right? And I'm a fucking patrol cop, right? Pissant patrol cop. So my CO, Barry, was like, look, go up to the squad, give it a shot, stay there 18 months. If you don't like it, come back to patrol. I said, okay, I'll try it. And the rest is history, right? I went up to the 4-8 squad. I was there for 3 years. I got my shield in 05. And then in 07, I got my story of how I got to JTTF is a funny one. I don't know if we'll have time to get into it, but I ended up getting to JTTF in December of 2007.
So with the JTTF, it's a highly sought after position.
Yeah, I dare say the most elite unit in the
Joint Terrorism Task Force.
That's right. Yeah.
So Tom Smith and Dan Murphy were both involved in that as well, and I guess that's how you two connected.
Yeah, myself and Tom. Yeah.
All right. So, but what is that like? You go from this high octane, high adrenaline to now
a thinking man's game now.
Yeah.
Now you're all of a sudden, and you got to pronounce names that I'm not even going to try.
No, right. Yeah. And listen, full disclosure, I'm not as smart as I look. So it was a tough transition. But the worst part of it, believe it or not, so I shouldn't say the worst. The most impactful moment for me was I remember when we had our office was in Chelsea, right by the Chelsea Market. And I remember I was in a suit, right? Because you got to wear a suit every day. And I woke up and it was the day I was getting sworn in as a U.S. Marshal, because you get sworn as a deputy, you get deputized as well as a U.S. Marshal, so you can carry on the plane and you get your creds and yada, yada, yada. And I remember I had to take a shit, and I'm like, this
it always comes down to that.
This bathroom is I was embarrassed to pollute this bathroom with my shit because it was fucking immaculate, right? And then I look at my desk, and I have my own. You work in a squad in the Bronx, Brooklyn, anywhere tough. You're sharing your desk with 3 guys, right, or girls, and they're slobs for the most part, and I'm not a slob. So I used to get pissed off. I had 3 computers to myself, my own desk. I had a take-home car. I mean, I was like, wow, I made it. Like, I made it, right? Top of the world, right?
Top of the world, Ma.
Yeah, that's how I was. I was Jimmy Keg.
You look at some of the things these people do post 9/11. Pre 9/11. JTTF was a very, very select few people. And then all of a sudden it just grew after 9/11. Now you got to look at the backstage, behind the curtain of what these people who perpetrate these terrorist acts are really like. Right. And I think one of the first times the world ever got to see what the terrorists were like behind the scenes is when they killed Osama Bin Laden, and they started information started leaking out, a bunch of porn tapes and stuff like that. Yeah. So
he's got 30-something kids too.
Yeah.
So they're not these overly religious people as everybody thinks they are.
Right.
So what's the first thing that you really learned about these people who do these acts?
So it's tribal with them, right? This is tribal shit for them. This is not This is not. This is like what was it? The Hatfield and the McCoys.
Hatfields
This
and
is the
McCoys.
Hatfield and the McCoys times 2,000 for them. Like their fucking great grandfathers were fighting each other in the caves of Afghanistan. So this is personal tribalism shit for them. A Salafi Muslim, they will not rest until 100% of the free world is living under Sharia law. So these fucking people, when they get it in their brains that they're going to be Salafi Muslim extremists, they're a whole fucking different breed. Because listen, I had sources, I met imams, I met people who were Muslim who were fucking fantastic people.
Well, Muslim is a peaceful religion.
They
We're
were
not dumping
fantastic.
on them.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
But to your point, the people that I was investigating in the JTTF weren't peaceful Muslims, right? They were Salafi Muslim extremists. So the worst part was, to your point earlier, remembering their names, like trying to differentiate. And I'm not trying to sound like a buzzard, but it was tough.
It's got to be
With
real
your
tough.
Western tongue, it doesn't work.
Yeah, no, it was, and I roll my R's as good as the next guy, but you know, it was tough. Something that you know, again, right? I'm not as smart as I look, but you know, my brain was able to pick it up, and I ran with it, and I hit the ground running. I got there in 2007. I got my first big case in 2008, and then I got my huge case in 2009. So I hit the ground running.
So what were they like behind the scenes, these people, aside from being absolute extremists, because they were living amongst us?
Right.
And they still are.
You had said something where a terrorist, there was a couple character traits for a terrorist. They're incredibly hardworking.
They're hardworking, they're good actors, and they're very patient.
Yeah. The patience is, I agree with that 1,000%. The patience is there. These people will wait. And listen, this is not, and folks, full disclosure, I'm not trying to scare anybody, but this is the truth. It's not a matter of if another 9/11 happens in this country. It's a matter of when. Okay? They're going to hit us again. And they'll wait 50 years if they could kill 3,000 Americans in one day again. And now we have over 4,000 who have died due to 9/11 related illnesses after the fact.
We just
lost
lost
one today.
We just lost one today.
There you go.
You know,
There you go.
Billy Bartholomew was one of the guys from the bucket brigades cleaning out
God bless
Ground
him.
Zero.
Yeah.
Fought a hard battle with cancer.
Yeah.
And the Droga Act.
Yeah.
So
James Adroga. That's right.
His father just passed away
That's right. Yeah.
So-
he got hit by a car in the hospital.
in the hospital.
Oh, yeah.
You wouldn't talk crazy.
Yeah.
His wife had surgery.
Yeah.
He went to visit her in the hospital. He left, got hit by a car in a garage and got killed.
Yeah.
Former police chief.
Listen, you don't know, right? When God, I'm not super religious, but I believe in God, and when it's your time, only He knows. That's it.
You try to be as careful as possible,
That's
but not
it, right.
overly
Yeah,
cautious
yeah.
because
Right, yeah.
when your number's up, your number's up.
I'm not
right.
going to push God to turn over that other card.
Right, exactly.
I have a friend of mine. He's Pakistani.
Mm-hmm.
He's a Muslim.
Yeah.
And he fits the profile of a terrorist so perfectly that his name's Adil, and he, you know, young businessman, highly successful, very smart.
Right.
He fits the profile so well.
Right.
And I always used to joke. I said, "Hey, how's Bin Laden doing with the rest of your money?"
Right.
But he had to get special clearance to go on a plane because every time he was going on a plane, he was
he
getting
was
pulled in and
stopped.
getting a
Yeah,
finger
right.
up his ass.
Right. Yeah.
So, how did you differentiate between the average, really successful Muslim versus somebody who's doing bad?
So, our vision or image of a terrorist is a Western thing, right? There's no, and I hate to sound cliche, but there's no real profile of a terrorist. A terrorist can be anybody. I mean, look at the Tsarnaev brothers, right, in Boston.
Yeah.
The Boston bombers. I mean, you look at that Richard Reed asshole that went on a plane with his shoe, right? The shoe bomber. My Staten Island Jihadi kid, Abdel Hameed Shehadeh, he was a Palestinian kid, right? Najibullah Zazi and his crew, Adis Medujanin, right? And Zareen Ahmadzai, Pakistani, Palestinian, I mean, Bosnian, right? There's no profile. I mean, look at the asshole that blew up Oklahoma City,
Yeah.
right?
Timothy
McVeigh, right?
Timothy McVeigh.
Terrorists, one of the worst terrorists ever, you know? Didn't fit the profile, right? I get what you're saying. But so for us, the short answer is differentiating it is the biggest part of fighting terrorism is intel, is the intel you get, right? You have good sources, you have people who help you out, right? Because the police cannot do their job effectively. I don't care what level you're at, whether you're a Fed or whether you're a patrol cop, right, in the worst neighborhood in this country, you can't do your job without the help of the public and the community. If you don't get good info, if you don't get good sources, if you don't get good people coming forward and helping you out, you're not going to do your job effectively. So a big part of our thing was intel, online stuff, which was starting to become more prevalent, right? This is pre-Facebook, right? 2007. I think Facebook came out in late 2007. You know, the Instagrams of the world weren't out. They would communicate on Pal Talk. This was the thing called Pal Talk. Yeah, MySpace, which fucking disappeared, right?
Everybody's friends with Tom.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Tom
he
was
your
my
friend. Yeah, your first friend. But intel was a big part of it. That's how we differentiated it. The financial aspect, right? I had a guy that I went, a doctor who owned dealerships in Texas that I went, and we found out he was laundering millions and millions of dollars to Al Qaeda. I mean, you know, and the guy was a clean-cut doctor, like, and he owned car dealerships. So the profile it's easier to identify these people when you have good intel.
How would somebody come up and give you a little bit of intel? So you got a source. Like what was that conversation like?
It was just like having a source who's a crackhead auto stripper, right? Money talks, right? They give you good info, you pay them, right? The FBI had a good budget for every source that they had who gave good intel. They paid them well and they got good info in return. The big thing is vetting it, right? You can't just take it. A guy just can't come up to me in the street who owns a bodega who's Yemeni and tells me, hey, you know, Ahmed over there is a tier 2 Al-Qaeda operative. You know, go, you know, stick a camera in his house and, you know, bug his car, right? You have to vet the information. The more sources you have that come with you with the same shit, the more you know, hey, wait, we got something here. There's a little smoke there, maybe fire, right? The biggest part is vetting it, right? So you'd have people that would come to you. A lot of it was word of mouth. You have people coming to you from mosques, right? You have people that you meet that agents would go out and they would look for sources, right? They would go out. The biggest part of the task force was and this is around the country, the LEOs, right? The law enforcement officers who were part of the JTTF. It was our job to work the streets and teach the agents, right, how to work people on the street in the hood, right? Because a lot of the agents didn't know that, right? They're smart guys. They went through Quantico. They're very book smart. A lot of them, unless they're former police officers who became agents, a lot of them are attorneys, you know, engineers, you know, even doctors, and they become FBI agents, and they don't know how to talk to a crackhead auto stripper or a Yemeni guy who owns a bodega who wants to give them, you know, information about something that's going on that's nefarious.
Well, I mean, you got to treat everybody with respect.
100%.
You know, you get one of these guys, one of these intel, and you don't treat them with respect, you ain't getting shit out.
Oh, forget about it. That's it. You're done. You burn them immediately. Yeah.
You know, that's why, you know, you get these book smart guys. That's why I always say I'd take a street smart cop over a book smart cop
100%.
anytime. You know how to deal with people.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Aside from the money, though, that you were able to provide them, there's got to be some reason why they give up their Muslim brothers. Mm-hmm. And I'm saying Muslim, okay? And right. I know that's not the only term.
I know what you mean.
But why are they giving up? My opinion is like in a Puerto Rican neighborhood, you see somebody screwing up where it could give all Puerto Ricans a bad name.
Right.
You usually have some internal justice.
And that's it. And that's it, right? To your point, right? They want to show us that, hey, not all Muslims are terrorists. Not all Muslims are out to kill Americans. Not all Muslims want to live under Sharia law and a Salafi. So you had people, and listen, there were various reasons, right? Sometimes I had a guy who was Bangladeshi. His kid got jammed up, right? He got radicalized online. He ended up, it was my last case before I left JTTF. He got jammed up. He was driving a cab, and the kid got radicalized online, and he took a plane into Turkey, right? And you go into Turkey, you're going one place and one place only. You're going to Syria because that's the only way to get into Syria is through Turkey. The kid ended up in Syria, right? Aleppo happened, all this other shit happened, and the kid was calling the embassy looking for me, and I had retired, wanted to get back. So the father helped us. The kid helped us, right? You have motivation just like a skell, right? In the street, an auto stripper again, right? A lot of times they do it to save their own ass.